Can't see darn thing. These glasses. What? No. Whoa. Welcome to the Once Blind Podcast. This is host called Correct.
All right, what's up, everybody? I know it's been a while. It's definitely been a while. And we have a lot of things that have happened in this beautiful country of ours. Mm-hmm. It's been a while. All right, so where do you think we should start? Oh, wait, by the way, just in case I didn't say, the lovely Nati is with me. All right, so where should we start?
I don't know. It's been a year. There's so much.
It's been almost 2 years now.
Okay, so we have a new president-elect.
Yes. If he makes it.
God help us. Well, yeah, maybe that's a good place to start. Prayer.
Definitely, we got to pray for him. It's scary to me because all he's done so far is talk about the things he's going to do. And for any conservative human being, or any human being, period, it's actually pretty good stuff. Going after the whole gender nonsense. Going, how many people have stopped all wars?
Yeah.
You know, all these things that he's talking about doing, and he's just talking about doing it because he can't do anything yet.
Right.
And, day one, immigration, day one, this gender nonsense. Zelensky and Putin are not fighting right now. Putin is waiting to see what proposal comes, so he's on a standstill. There was like a meme or something about Putin checked Zelensky and Trump, checked them both, and he's not even president yet.
Right.
And they've literally stopped fighting because of that. Mm-hmm. Israel and Palestine, well, not Palestine, it's really Iranians now, have really stopped. Hamas promises not to do anything so that Trump doesn't go after them, and he's still not in. It's almost a month and a half away, 2 months practically.
January 6th, yeah.
Yeah, and we're in the first week of November. Yeah. So he just got in, and already Hamas is like, no, Mr. Trump, please don't spank us.
Hamas is calling for peace, yeah. Zelensky had a private phone call with President Trump and Elon Musk. Mexico broke up a migrant caravan heading for America. Putin says he will sell Russian oil to the U.S. dollar because he was using that other money currency that they were using before. And the EU says it wants to buy American natural gas to avoid Trump's tariffs.
Which is interesting. That's another thing he's been talking about throughout his whole campaign is the tariffs, against China, tariffs against other countries that used to sell us things cheaper.
Right.
That in the Biden administration decided, well, this guy's got no heart, so we're just going to skyrocket everything.
Absolutely.
And it's not like they're going to do anything away. I actually think they got kickback from it.
Of course, yeah.
Kind of like in Ukraine, we were sending them billions and billions of dollars, and I think Zelensky had a separate account for them. It's like, you send me billions, I'll put $1 million on the side for you, and we all make out.
It's money laundering, yeah.
Which in reality, when it comes to that specific war, I really, really hope that not only do they find a proposal to stop the war, but I also want Trump, and I've said this to you before, Trump to get our money back.
I don't know how it's going to be possible, but...
I don't know, but, Trump is a businessman, and I'm sure he'll figure out a way to say, hey, not only is the war going to end, but you do owe the American people a lot of money.
Well, I'm going to say something that I think is super, super controversial.
Not you.
Not me. Well, they don't know me as well as you know me. And again, I don't think anybody will agree with me, but like Hunter Biden, I feel bad for him, and I feel bad for Zelensky, because I feel like they're just pawns in Daddy's game.
Not my game.
Not they're a Daddy's game.
Oh.
our producers liking what we're saying. So, like, a lot of people want to punish Hunter Biden, and there are some illegal things that he did that he should be accountable for. But the illegal things that he did that had to do with his father, I feel his father should be accountable for. I mean, it's almost like he's being blackmailed to do his father's bidding. If we all know the guy has struggled with drugs his probably whole adulthood, and then you have a father who's super powerful, vice president, and then president. How do you say no to that guy? To your father, one, in an incredibly abusive family, when you are a severe drug addict, how do you say no to your dad? And we have text messages from Hunter Biden to his sister and to other family members saying, like, I'm everybody's pawn. I'm the one that has to get his hands dirty for everybody. And all I get is he gets, like, the brunt of things, but nobody thanks him when he's referring to his own family. Yeah. Anyway, my point is to tie the two things together. I feel like Zelensky's the same thing. Zelensky was an actor.
Yeah, he was a nobody.
He wasn't trying to run for president. Then we staged a coup over there during the Biden administration, and during the Obama administration. To me, it's the same exact thing. So during the Obama administration, we staged a coup over there. Zelensky gets implanted in as president. This guy that was some actor dancing in heels and bathing suits, and then he becomes the puppet. He becomes Hunter Biden of Ukraine. And I feel bad for both guys.
And people, you can fact check all of this. Like, just look into it yourselves and see that it's been going on that long. This isn't an overnight thing.
Yeah, for sure.
I guess I see how you could feel sorry for that idiot. I still feel bad for the kids of Biden, because it wasn't only Hunter who had a difficult upbringing, per se. The daughter, and the daughter's diaries out there, and there's so much information about that. I mean, I'm sure he didn't start sniffing kids when he started being a president. A lot of the things that happened, even as he was in Delaware, right? Delaware is where he was senator?
I believe so.
Yeah, I may be wrong on that.
No, one of his sons was the Delaware senator.
Either way, but a lot of the stuff that he had passed then, a lot of his behavior then, they call Trump the racist, but if you just look into Biden's history, the people he affiliated himself with, the people around his circle, then you have the same thing with who Obama used to hang out with, which is interesting because, we call him a black man, but I don't know. My dad used to say, you are who you hang with. And he hung out with nothing but a bunch of racists and Marxists and communists and socialists and so on. And but they're saying Trump is like everything that happened throughout the whole election. Everything that the Democratic Party did, they said Trump was doing.
It's, what do they call it? Projecting.
It was projecting and a bunch of gaslighting and so on and so forth, because then we'd be the crazy ones to tell them, what are you, nuts? This is what Harris did. This is what Biden was doing. This is what Obama was doing. All these things that they have done to ruin this country to the point that it's at, because this country right now is ruined. Till Trump is in office and starts making changes, we're still in that same state. Well, you say hopefully. What is the next thing that you think they're going to be doing in order to put a stop to it? Kind of like in the first time he ran and was elected.
Well, one, if he stays alive.
Yes.
We already know they tried at least 3 times.
Yes.
But the other thing is Mitch McConnell is already trying to stage a coup in the Senate, doing, what do they call them? They're not called private. They're like silent votes. And, they're already staging a coup. He's a rhino, a Republican in name only, because he loves wars and, again, kickbacks from wars. And so they're already trying to, because the first time Trump was president, we had the House and the Senate. You would have thought some things would have been done. We were supposed to get rid of Obamacare and a bunch of other stuff. Nothing happened. And the reason nothing happened was Mitch McConnell. Now, Mitch McConnell is no longer in the position he was back then, but he's still holding the puppet strings. As far as the racism thing, I wanted to say something about Joe Biden and the racism thing. Joe Biden was closely connected. He called him his mentor and the father figure to Robert Byrd, spelled Byrd. He was a senator, a Democrat senator, and he was a grand wizard for the KKK. Now, supposedly, he walked away from it at some point. I mean, but he gave his eulogy. Biden gave the eulogy for the Grand Wizard of the KKK, whom also Hillary Clinton mentored under. They get what do they call when they get a non-paid internship? She interned under him, and she learned all her stuff under the guy. I mean, it's interesting that these people who call others racist are so closely connected to incredibly racist people, but including Hillary Clinton saying her role model in life was Margaret Sanger, who we know wanted to extinguish black people, disabled people, and poor people. And they still have the same exact.
For those who don't know who she is, how did she want to do that?
Oh, she was the founder of the, she did speak for the KKK, but she was the founder of Planned Parenthood. She was a known speaker for the KKK. But also she paid black churches to go speak at the churches so that the black pastors would kind of back her up and people would trust her. But, she was a horrific human being. And they love to talk about Puerto Rico and how our government went to Puerto Rico and gave women hysterectomies against their will because they thought they were having too many children. They forget to say who it was. Who was doing that?
And who
it was a Democrat government.
Which is pretty much the same Democratic government they have there. Which I do want to get into a lot of what's going on with Puerto Rico. Just not yet. Because I am, as a Puerto Rican, very, very disappointed on how things were portrayed and how a lot of people didn't actually stand up to say something. Some of my ex-favorite musicians are Puerto Ricans. And then whatever chance they get, they want to, take a shot at Trump. And it's, we'll definitely get into that in a little bit.
I think the main concern is, and not the people watching, because people watching YouTube right now are not people that get their news through the mainstream media. They're people that get their news through podcasts and things like that, alternative media sources. But people who sit there, mostly boomers, but people who sit there constantly watching mainstream media, they're only getting a constant barrage of indoctrination. And I can't remember the word that a government uses to manipulate people. They used to
propaganda?
Propaganda. A constant barrage of propaganda. They have no idea. So the amount of people I've heard say, I wasn't born in this country. Unlike Carlos, I'm not a Puerto Rican. I didn't have my U.S. citizenship when I came here. I came as a legal resident alien, which means I came with a green card. I had to become a U.S. citizen. So I have heard so many times, and today has just been not even a week since the election, but so many times from then to now, they're going to take away your citizenship. They're going to put you in a camp. They're going to send you away. And they're getting this from the mainstream media. They're getting this from people like Joy Reid and Joy Behar and the Women at the View and CNN. I mean, it's
the clowns at the View.
But it should be illegal. It should be illegal to say, and I'm not talking about free speech. I'm talking about the media should not be allowed to decimate propaganda to our country. We used to have a law against it.
Yeah.
And under Obama, that law was allowed to disappear, essentially, because laws sometimes have like 50 years or something where they, and he just allowed it to, he got rid of it.
It's interesting because the difference between you calling someone an idiot, or thinking something they did was stupid, to purposely putting out misinformation,
Absolutely.
especially to manipulate and scare, because a lot of it is scare tactics. I've I've been seeing nothing but a bunch of snowflakes melt on Instagram and Facebook and all those, and it's hysterical. But there was this one lady who was crying, "I'm afraid to go to sleep. I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and be a slave."
Oh my gosh.
And even though, fine, she may have been mentally disabled, I really sensed a pity for the real fear that she felt, that from 11:59 to 12 a.m. she was going to become a slave.
And she, woke up knowing she's not a slave, but she's still thinking any minute it can happen.
But where do you get such fear when
Yes.
when we've created a society that idolizes celebrities and idolizes people,
Yeah.
right? And in the limelight, everything they say is church, as people would say. It's gospel. And the sad part is that it's not. There's only one gospel.
Amen.
And they've truly ignored that gospel. And even for the Trumpers out there, you got to be careful. If you're a Christian and you're idolizing this man as a hero, you need to understand the only way this is going to work, no matter who is going to be taking up this mantle of hero of America, you have to understand you're just a tool.
Amen.
And either you're going to be a tool of Christ or you're going to be the tool of the enemy. And I am not a Trumper. I actually didn't want Trump to win. I wanted RFK, regardless if he ran as a Democrat or not. But, I didn't get my wish. And I wasn't going to vote for him as an independent because that's just stealing votes from Trump. And there was no way in hell I could vote for Harris. And
No.
there's no way I could think that Harris winning would have been good for this country in any way.
No.
But again, I didn't want RFK to win.
So that lady that you're referring to, that she was scared she was going to wake up a slave, we saw this phenomenon. We saw this phenomenon during COVID.
Yes.
And it's called mass psychosis or mass formation psychosis. And basically what it is it refers to a cohesive group that exhibits common traits associated with mental illness. So a group of people will rile each other up, and they all seem like they're inhibiting or the same mental illness all at once.
Okay.
So basically, they make each other crazy, in my terminology.
And we've seen that. And you know what the sad part is? A lot in women.
Well, yeah, because we're more emotional.
Yeah.
And in men, low testosterone.
Which is interesting because all the videos that we've been watching, right? And I've loved, I think Slightly Offensive has put some out. Rogan has put some out. All the major podcasters that are on like Instagram and stuff, they've put these collages out. Find me a man in that. No, like a genuine man in that. There's those, what did you say, low testosterone males, right? There's a difference between a man and a male.
Absolutely.
But there are no men.
Well,
and not that men weren't happy. I know plenty of men that were not happy, but I also know a lot of feminine men who walk around saying they're alphas, but then they start yelling and screaming like little girls.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say. As you know, I worked as a poll worker on the day of election, and I'm
glad you said it that way.
Yes, on the day of election, and yeah,
Sorry.
it was a father there. So our machines were not really working. Our computers that we check you in on, they weren't really working. They were very slow. The internet was lagging. They kept trying to download things where we were supposed to be working. So, of course, it was making lag as well. So sometimes to check one person in, it would take us a few minutes. It would just take a very long time, and people would get antsy. Anyway, so this one man came in, and he had a baby in his arms, a little bit over a year old. So he was kind of a heavy kid. And I felt bad for the man because, it was taking forever to log him in. And so he kept moving the baby because, his arms were getting heavy. And at some point, all the women on my side were like, oh, the baby's so cute, because he really was. He was adorable. And he was very tired. He was trying to fall asleep. But because the dad kept moving him, he kept waking up. And at some point, somebody says something like, oh, are you going to vote, buddy? Just because women talk to babies. We like babies. And the dad was like, no, but if he is going to vote, it won't be for Trump. And we were like, okay.
His pink came out.
I mean, sir, are you okay? And, to be very honest, the law says that the poll workers are there to enforce the law of voting, the voting laws. And so one of us should have probably said, sir, you're not allowed to speak about, that kind of stuff, because that means you're, what is that word?
Campaigning.
Yeah, electioneering, something like that. Mm-hmm. And so whatever. But we were all too scared for the little guy in his arms to tell him he can't talk, or to tell him he can't vote, because he was already super emotional over nothing. No one said anything. So if you're that emotional over nothing, my point in this was to say, my first thought was, that guy needs a hit of testosterone. What is wrong with him? I mean, who reacts that way with a little guy in their arm, and no one mentioned Trump. None of us, and I was amongst Democrats, because they put 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans at every table. So I was amongst Democrats. All of us were kind of weirded out by that guy. It's afterwards, my thought was, I'm fearful for the children at home today, after Trump had won, that have to be at home with a mentally unstable mother, because, she thinks she's going to be a slave in the morning, and she's going to be, unable to murder babies or whatever it is that they think. And the fathers, if they even have one in the house, being that emotional nut job. I feel bad. We really need to, as a nation, not just pray for Trump and for his protection and the protection of his family and the other people in the cabinet, like Tulsi Gabbard and Elon Musk and RFK and, Ron Paul. We need to pray for them, but we need to be praying for the children of these people who are at home with this mass psychosis, riling each other up and getting each other wound up. I mean, there's women now shaving their heads and wearing blue bracelets to give like a visual sign to others that they are for the 4B movement. They're not going to have intercourse with men, and they're not going to they're not going to dye their hair, or it's crazy.
Oh, it's a lot of insanity going on.
They're riling each other up. It's scary, and they're talking about rioting. Riots like last time, the riots. So we got to be careful even during the inauguration.
Yeah, which is interesting, because before she conceded, Mrs. Harris was giving a speech about how we're not going to be like them. We're going to be peaceful. We're going to be this. We're going to be that. And I just wonder how, when they're not those things, the same way they blamed Trump for January 6th, how are they going to blame, Trump for this one? And it's interesting, because for a while you keep hearing January 6th was worse than 9/11. January 6th was the worst terrorist attacks in this whole country. And the people who bought into this, even though it was already proven to be done by another source, one of the alphabet crew.
I mean, there were people there that were riling others up and saying, we should do this, we should do that. There's videos of it. But unfortunately, the truth is that there are weak people on every side. We have people with mental illnesses and whatever on our side too. They're easily manipulated. It happens. It happens. You have somebody saying, they're in there and they're taking our rights and we should go in there. And somebody goes, yeah. And there are people that are weak-minded. But at the end of the day, like you said, it's well known that Trump called for more security at the ellipse, and neither the person running the police there. I can't remember what they're called something special, but it's not really the police. It's the police that only work at the monuments.
Did you see the video of Pelosi taking responsibility?
That was the other thing I was going to say. And Pelosi, those are the two people. So it would have been Pelosi because she was the head of the Senate at the time, and it would have been that police that I was the head of that. They both said there's no need. There's no need for extra security, even though he specifically called for extra security. So they had to take accountability. And that woman that was the head of the police at the time, she stepped down very soon after. Now she works for the head of security in Columbia University, I believe, in California. And we know what happened during the riots just a few months ago with the kids rioting for the Palestinian
people.
Yeah, those kids, they had taken over the school. They weren't letting anybody go to class, and they were pro-Palestinians. But there was the same woman that was in charge of the
police force,
right? That now is in charge over there. That also didn't do her job over there.
Maybe instead of moving these people around, we should send them to the unemployment office.
Well, actually, that's interesting because she was allowed to retire from this police force in the Capitol. Capitol Police, that's what it's called. There it is. She was allowed to retire from the Capitol Police Force, which you're not allowed to do unless you've done a certain amount of years. Like you should be there 20 years or 15 years. Don't quote me on that part because I don't remember the years. But she was allowed to step down and keep her retirement, even though she wasn't in the allotted time to be able to get her retirement money. But Pelosi approved her retirement and sent her off to Columbia, where she continued to just... I might be wrong about Columbia. It might have been Berkeley. But it's one of the ones in the big ones in California. It might be Berkeley. But one of them. She's now the head of security over there, continuing the same disaster.
Interesting how they get to keep their pensions. They get to do this. Yes. They get to do that. And then, again, that's another thing that we have rumors about because nothing's set in stone yet, is putting Elon Musk in charge of the swamp, right? Mm-hmm. And I really am looking forward for him to Twitter the whole government process.
That'd be nice. Yep.
If he could get rid of 70% of these pensions and 70% of these positions that have been made up for no reason, and 70% of the people who are sitting in a chair at the top of their game, making money, not doing what they're supposed to be doing, that would be phenomenal. And that's another dude through this whole thing that people really need to keep in prayer, because he didn't really get involved in politics a lot before, which he put it out there himself. It's not anything that's not news, but he feels that he was tricked by the woke mentality, which is why he's made himself an enemy to it. It's kind of why he went after Twitter and all these other things with, where he says his son is dead. And, that's a sad story, and I would say, hey, look that up, look into it. It's horrible, but it is what lit a fire under Elon's rear. And I'm telling you now, I wasn't an Elon fan. I could care less about Teslas and electric vehicles. Not my thing, but the minute he started, firing back at the wokeness and all the garbage that was being spewed, whether people want to call it revenge or whatever it is, I quite frankly don't mind this kind of revenge. He's not hurting anyone. He's only going after the mentally disabled movement, as well as those who are taking advantage. And that in itself lit a fire in him to, back up Trump, to make sure people knew what was going on. Twitter, he cleaned it out, put freedom of speech in it. And he says it himself. There's a lot of things that people say on Twitter or X, and on this side and that side and over this, and stuff he agrees with, stuff he doesn't agree with. And he still lets it be. He doesn't try to censorship anyone. And I appreciate that. I'm not on X or anything like that, but I appreciate what he's doing with it. I hear Rogan talk about it a lot. And it's interesting how now, again, it's just rumored at this point till it actually happens. He's going to be giving that position.
Department of Government Efficiency, something like that.
Yeah, and I mean, look what he did.
Well, so a lot of people don't know what he did. When he got into Twitter, now X, he got rid of, I think, like 80% to 90% of staff. He went down to 10% of staff. And he wanted to see how much of it was fluff, how much of it was not necessary. Yes, there was a little bit of hiccup at the beginning while he was coming in. But the thing is that he bought a company that was severely overvalued. They said it was like a lot of money, and it wasn't. It was fluff. But of course, you don't know that until you buy it and see the internal documents. And he lost a lot of sponsorship once he got rid of all the propaganda. But it's doing really good now. It's what's it when you're one against the other?
It's about to break even.
No, when it's now it's rivaling. That was the word, rivaling YouTube, because up until he bought Twitter, there wasn't a rival for YouTube. Not really. I mean, yes, there's Rumble and there's Patreon and whatever, but let's be serious. Like, a lot of people don't use it.
No.
So Twitter, because of Tucker Carlson, who left Fox and then went right to Twitter to do full episodes on there, along together, they've been building the brand that you can put full videos. So it's rivaling YouTube. For the first time, YouTube is getting a rival, which is great, because unlike YouTube, he does not censor your content or delete your content because you said the C19 word or the JAB word, or a bunch of words we can't say on here. Even if we're telling you a story about a person who hurt a child in some way, and we want to tell you the story of what, we can't even do that because you can't say none of the things that have to do with the story. You can't say news.
Wait, so I can put this up on Twitter now?
Yeah. The whole thing.
Or X.
X.
I gotta get the name right.
Gotta get it right. Show some respect on his
X.
name.
Part of the X. No. For those of you that know DMX.
Yes.
All right, so it's very interesting. So Elon, I'm kind of upset, but definitely happy, because I thought RFK was going to be in charge of all the alphabet crews.
So Trump has told Bobby Kennedy to pick something. What does he want to do? But the guy has so many talents, if you will. He has a plethora of knowledge in toxins, in our environment, and on the things that they put inside of our bodies, and medication. So he wants to do that, but he also might want to go after the alphabet groups, right? The CIA and the FBI and all those. So he's going to put a proposal together and give to Trump, and Trump will tell him yes or no. He hasn't written the proposal yet, so it's hard to know what he's going to be doing because he doesn't know what he's going to be doing. But Trump has pretty much given him the
reins,
yeah. So I will say this: whatever Bobby does, it will be good.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, listen, if he does work for the health portion of it, right? It's the dude who's in there now didn't do anything to benefit us.
I mean, the lady.
No, I'm not delusional.
The beautiful lady in drag.
Listen, if he actually was a female, okay, one of the ugliest
how dare you,
I've ever seen in any position of office where they're going to take a picture. At least get a body double, get a pretty girl to take a picture for you. And then, you can put that out there and be like, yay, this isn't her, but at least it's something nice to look at. I don't know what they were. They were pandering is what they were doing by putting him in that position. But if they do put RFK in it, I mean, with everything that RFK has done up to this point, going after Big Pharma, going after all these these companies, because it's not only big pharma who's involved. You have the
fluoride.
CVS's, the Walgreens, the people with fluoride, the water company, people who are manufacturing food with certain yellow dye, red dye, so on and so forth. Like, he's
All the things that are illegal in other countries.
literally going after a bunch of things that is, like you were saying, illegal outside of this country. You can't put that. They will not allow it. But we, with the FDA and so on and so forth, we're allowing it. Why? Because of the way it works. We kill you with the food, and then we keep you alive enough for you to pay all the money you can through pharmaceuticals.
Yep.
And it's just a cycle.
Absolutely.
You're never going to get better, because the medicine is only to keep you dependent, and then the food is what continues to keep you sick. So there's a scam going on.
Absolutely.
And our government has allowed it because, obviously, you know, there are little pensions and campaigns and little side pocket hustle, you know, certain stocks that go up and certain things like that they're benefiting from. They're not going to put a stop to. Well, this man, before it even really mattered to his pocket or anything, because he's coming out of pocket for it, he's the one going after them. He's the one making sure that he puts a dent in something, because obviously with no power, he couldn't really do much. Even though he did tons, he couldn't really put a real dent in. And now, hopefully, with the backing of the president, the backing of this government, he can finally get us back to a place where our food may not be, you know, top quality. Because let's face it, people here rather go to Doritos than broccoli. It's just what it is. But at least there won't be those yellow dyes and those red dyes and other poisons that are in our food.
But you're saying Doritos and broccoli, but even the broccoli is no good because it's genetically modified. And then you hear people in their propaganda, but it's genetically modified to be good for us and grow. And it isn't, though. Like, this is the propaganda. You're getting the propaganda from them. It's like when you're, to be blunt, it's like when you're in an abusive cult, but you go to the abusive cult for them to explain to you why they're not an abusive cult. Right? So it's like, hey, I've heard you're an abusive cult, but we're not an abusive cult because we love you very much. That's why we don't feed you. You know, we want you to stay, you know, like, you can't go to the people hurting you for the reality or the facts. They're going to lie to you. And this is what we get when we talk to people about, like, even the healthy food that you're buying has no nutrients.
Yeah, well,
because our ground has no nutrients. So if you're growing it in a ground that's depleted of nutrients, and you're growing it with water that has fluoride, and you're growing it with, you know, other ingredients that have Monsanto in it, you're eating poison, even when you're eating the most expensive vegetable and fruit you can find in the grocery store.
Well, RFK also went after Roundup.
Yeah, he's the one that exposed it.
Yeah, because of all the poison that's going on, causing cancer, and then we're throwing it on the food and using it in mass productions and so on and so forth.
It was getting in the air and causing lung cancer. It was terrible for people.
No, but not only that, in the food itself, and then it was causing tumors and so on. And it's like he went after those things, but you don't hear that on media.
No, but even with the fluoride that he went after, they exposed it 2 years ago. 2 years ago, he finally won the trial in order for them to produce the real data.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were finally able to see it about, I think it was, if it wasn't February, this last February, it was the February before that. But I think it was this last February. So like a year now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard what the data was? Exactly. So even though he was able to expose the data, what did they do with the data he exposed? It just went through a wormhole, and nobody knows about it.
Not a wormhole. It's right next to the Diddy file and right next to the Epstein
There you
file.
go. Exactly. So we were referring to the Assistant Secretary of Health, Admiral, what? The person's never been in the military. Admiral Rachel Levine, a very handsome young woman. Sorry. It's a man.
And it's not even young.
No, he is not young. But he's even more interesting than, again.
The character he made up?
Well, no, I'm talking about like if you just unravel the things, it gets worse and worse the more you unravel. This man was in charge of the same thing, which is the minister of health in Pennsylvania before he was in the Biden administration. So when the COVID thing happened and all these states started locking things down and the stuff that they were doing, this person heard that they were going to be locking down the elderly homes, the assisted living places. Well, he had his mother in one of them. And before they were able to shut them down and you could no longer visit your elderly mother, he went and took his mother out and brought her home. That's nice for him, but what happened to all the people that couldn't even visit their mother because they didn't even know this was going to happen? But because he was on the inside, he was on the inside of the Pennsylvania government, he knew that these shutdowns were coming, and he was able to pull out his own mother. While other people's mothers and fathers and grandfathers and grandmothers and whatever neighbors all passed away in these places, and they were never able to even give them a funeral, much less see them when they were sick. It's just, the whole thing is scandalous and disgusting.
It is. But, so now, celebrities. Oh, yeah. So, I don't even know where to begin sometimes. How, just your opinion, how many people from the Harris campaign
You're not even done saying it.
does anyone think is on a Diddy video?
98%? Probably.
And if not, because I'm going to be frank, I don't think Eminem was at a Diddy party because of how hard he went after Diddy when the Rihanna girl things came out. But I do know that his name did come up in an Epstein log.
Oh, yeah.
Which I find kind of weird because he's so protective of his daughters. And then you're there. So how protective of your daughters were you?
I
were
like
you
that you brought this up.
Biden protective of your daughter? Or what was going on there? Because I don't know. I don't know any parent who loves their children would be caught dead in either or situation.
So I've had this conversation many times with other people, and that is, I don't believe everybody on these lists were degenerates. Hold on a second before anybody flips out.
Okay.
Exactly. I think that if they couldn't get you involved in something disgusting, they sullied your name by having you in the room. Does that make sense? So let me explain.
No, I get it. Like what they tried to do with Trump and Epstein.
Exactly.
Trump was in a picture with Epstein somewhere. They were in the vicinity of each other. Yeah. They tried to say they were together. Yep. Something about one flight log where they both shared an airplane to Mar-a-Lago, which is where Trump is at.
Absolutely.
Doesn't mean he went to the whorehouse in Epstein's Island.
Right.
I get all that, but I'm going to disagree with you and cut you off before your explanation because those people that are scared, okay, aren't kind of scared. They've left the country. They hid in some corner, and then they only showed up for the whole Harris thing. I mean, and now the best things out there is like Beyonce's pictures from those videos, okay, of how she became famous.
I don't know anything about that.
You haven't seen it?
No, but I will say that I hate celebrities and I try to avoid all the crap related to them. But I will say I don't think it all has to do with Diddy. For example, what's a tough guy? De Niro?
Mm-hmm. He's a sicko, though.
He thinks he's a tough guy. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say. It doesn't need to be Diddy because they're already involved in other things not in Diddy related. And so they just have to bring that up.
Yeah, but all three of those society, there's the Hollywood society is very close to the Epstein and the Epstein to the Diddy. And there was even some rap group or rap people in the West Coast that were doing the same thing. These societies exist everywhere.
That's what I was trying to say. So with De Niro, for example, he was caught up, I want to say the 70s, maybe the 80s, in France in a prostitution ring that had 13-year-olds, and I believe he was involved with one of them. He was definitely involved with the prostitutes. And he said, I was involved with the prostitutes, but not with the 13-year-olds. How would you know, sir? But the point is that, people forget that stuff, where they ignore it on purpose, goes away on purpose, and then they bring it up when they want you to dance for them. So it doesn't, I mean, they again, I think that they purposely wrap you up into things. You're some guy, you're a nobody, you're some weird whoever, and, come to our party, hang out with us, here's a line of drugs. I want to introduce you to my friend Rachel, or whatever. You don't know Rachel's 15, 16, 17, 18. Like, what is she doing at this party? And then, or you're a degenerate, and they know you like 11-year-olds and 10-year-olds and whatever. So it's either they'll get you
what you want,
or they'll get you involved and wrapped up in some stuff you had no idea what you were doing. And already we know, because there was a senator, or maybe he was a congressman. I think his name was Madison Hawthorne. He was in a wheelchair because he was in the Marines and got hurt, whatever. And he said, "Oh, they're degenerates out here in the Senate." He said that they had sex parties and stuff like that. And then he was wrapped up in one and he got kicked out. But he had said, like, this is what they do. You get to D.C., they invite you to these parties, and they're all degenerates and disgusting. And, on the floor of the Senate or the House in Congress, they act like they're fighting against each other. I'm not voting for that. Oh, you're a bad person. But then when, they're off camera, they're hanging out together at these parties and doing God knows what. Actually, that reminds me, during, again, the COVID situation, while everything was being shut down, I'll say this happened in New York City. The person who convinced the governor to shut everything down in New York City, I cannot remember his name, but he was being investigated. He was on undercover video I believe it was Steven Crowder video, where he admitted, because he thought he was on a date with someone, so he was just talking like he was on a date with someone, but he admitted on video that during the shutdowns, he was going to raves underground under a bank in the middle of New York, Manhattan. They were getting high and complete naked and having like parties, like sex parties, whatever, while the entire state of New York is shut down and no one's allowed to go to work or go out or walk their dog or whatever because people were losing their minds. This guy who convinced the governor to shut down New York City is an underground party, naked, doing God knows what with total strangers. These people are, they're cartoon-like in their, like, if you were going to draw a picture of a villain, like, they're cartoonish in their villainry. A super feminine guy, a doctor, very high position, a Democrat. Like, if you were going to write a movie and a movie character, we would go, like, that's a little on the nose.
Yeah.
Like...
Well, that's how they do things. Yeah. They give you enough of the truth in our music, enough of the truth in our movies, and that's the way they excuse their behavior or how they make amends with their behavior. But I just find it interesting how with the whole celebrities thing, they were looking for, what people would consider A-listers. But the sad part is that these people haven't been A-listers for a very long time. The only people who push them as A-listers is the media. Eminem hasn't really been relevant. And I used to be a really big fan till he drew the line and blah, 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 and, that whole nonsense of his. I stopped being a fan, and so many others have been. That's why, like, 4 years later, after, like, 3 failed albums, he comes out with Kamikaze, I think it was called, and the airplane tribute to I don't know what or whatever it is. And he's got, like, 2 or 3 good verses throughout the whole thing. Like, bro, you're done. You're dead. You're a million years old in rap years.
Oh yeah.
And you're trying to hang on to your relevance. Yes. And the media is the one that's helping you stay in. You know, you got people who are other dinosaurs, and I love Redman, but he's holding you up. And then, you know, Snoop Dogg's trying to hold you up. LL Cool J's trying to hold you up, because these are actual guys who haven't fallen off. Not that they're, again, in the A-list, but they know where they're at. They're the OGs, you know. And Eminem refuses to be an OG. He thinks he's still the G. And you're not. You're done. And then who else do they bring in? Snoop Dogg, who I don't know how he's still alive. He looks like 150 years old. Okay. I don't know what's going on there. Then they get out of the whole rap scene and they go after what? Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro hasn't made a good movie since, I don't know, Heat.
I don't even know.
Okay. I mean, Al Pacino made the movie.
Uh-huh.
But he's there. Everything else is some degenerate movie.
Yeah, they're gross.
You know, old grandpa,
Disgusting.
new grandpa, sister's grandpa. Like, it's all the same crap over and over again. And again, he's just trying to be relevant. Oh my goodness.
He's trying to get paid.
Well, he's trying to get paid, but the sense is you haven't done anything with substance or a good movie. You know, no Taxi Driver, no Raging Bull, no. Was he in The Godfather? I think he was in one or two of The Godfathers. Maybe. Again, Al Pacino.
Right.
You know, Robert De Niro's the super watered down Al Pacino.
That's funny.
Let's see. Who else did they put up there? Beyonce. I mean, she married Jay-Z.
Yeah.
She completely disrespected the whole country scene by making a so-called country song.
Well, that was interesting. It's off the topic, but it was interesting because when she didn't win any awards for the country,
everyone was racist.
No. Her husband came out and was like, you know, she deserved this and so on and so forth. It's like, sir, you can't just buy your way into an industry and think that because you bought your wife's albums, hundreds and hundreds of them, that the country music people were going to be like, okay, you're in now. No. You just can't buy your way into things.
Well, he did buy her way into the billboards for a while. He did do that, and that probably meant he had a computer somewhere just running that song on a loop.
I mean, that's how they do it, right? That's how we get a person with zero talent, and we're all singing their song, and we're like, I don't even like this person or this song, but they play it so much that everywhere you go, you hear it.
Well, I think Joe Coy, the comedian, he said it best. You know, rap music is just not the same anymore. You got the one guy singing that, and then he goes, you know, and people are like, oh, you know, this is great. And it's not. What are you saying? You know, and he uses some choice words or whatever. And then he plays some Biggie, right? And everyone's going crazy, right? Which is now even interesting, okay, because it's like, yeah, it was understandable. Yeah, it was good when we were around because we didn't pay attention to anything being said. Isn't that interesting?
No, because I never liked his music. I
well, yeah,
found it
you
feminine.
didn't like hip hop. You're a
No,
metalhead.
No, I am, but I liked A Tribe Called Quest.
Name one song from Tribe Called Quest.
No idea. I couldn't tell you, but I liked them.
Okay.
I liked stuff that felt like they were saying something, like Common, and the other guy I can never remember his name. He's an amazing actor. What's his name?
You're talking about Nas?
I like Nas.
DMX?
No. He was in the...
My Dog's Bite?
I don't know. It was like him and Common were like, you know, similar in movies. He's very poetic.
Mos Def?
Yes, Mos Def. Like that kind of rap, like I appreciate consciousness. Like Lauryn Hill, like the conscious stuff. Like
who's Lauryn Hill?
Oh, come on.
Oh.
Anyway, I appreciate consciousness, you know? It's the kind of rock that I like. I don't like just any rock. I like the consciousness stuff, the stuff that speaks against war and whatever. I never liked, you know, Biggie and Tupac, and I found them to be feminine.
Well, Tupac for sure, but Biggie played his role very well.
I'm just talking about what I saw, like the way they dressed, the way they behaved, the music itself sounded feminine to me, and I couldn't put a finger on it. I thought maybe because they grew up without dads. I don't know. Now we know it's because they were all, you know,
doing each other.
yes, intimately involved with one another. But like the clothes, like because we were that age, we were like high school, middle school, when these guys started to influence clothes.
Okay.
And like the chinchilla fur coats, well, they're not fur, but like the chinchilla coats and the fox coats and the hats and I was like, this is so feminine. This is weird. Like, it was weird to me to see men be so detailed and concerned with their outfits. Like, it came off as very gay. And the white parties.
You know, that's what I did every first day of school, right? I'd sit
No
down,
idea.
put my shoes out,
Oh, that's
put my
different.
jeans out. No, I was very involved in my clothing. So I don't think being involved in your clothing, I mean, I didn't start wearing crappy clothes till I got married.
Oh, how dare you?
Okay. Once, I couldn't spend the $150 for my jeans, I had to buy Walmart jeans.
I feel
and then I
like-
put on all the weight, and now I just got to take whatever they have.
I feel like the culture facilitated very feminine energy.
No, there was some feminine outfits, but I'm going to disagree with you. A lot of that culture, okay, because I am from that culture, was about style. Who had game, who had gear, who had the best shoes, or not even the most unknown different shoes and matching this and so on and so forth. It was a part of the culture. Now, would I go and buy a fur coat? No. I'd rather buy 3 pairs of shoes that would go with different outfits than buy a fur coat or a fur hat. I mean, I did have a lot of cat in the hat hats.
You were flamboyant and silly. Like, you were just...
I was not as flamboyant.
I'm not flamboyant. What's the word I'm looking for? Like, eccentric. That was the word. Eccentric and silly.
You hear this woman?
Flamboyant was the wrong word.
Flamboyant is a horrible word.
Yes, you're right. I'm sorry.
My own wife calls me gay.
I didn't call you gay.
On my podcast.
I meant to say eccentric.
Not
word
me.
was eccentric. The word was eccentric. The word was... Listen. Don't be racist. English is my second language.
Oh, English is my second language too.
Listen.
And if anything, I'm more minority than you.
Oh, why is that?
Because people accept Argentinians.
Who accepts Argentinians?
More than they accept the Puerto
Even
Ricans.
Chileans don't like us. Brazilians don't like us.
You guys do have the reputation of...
Of what? What does that mean? Go ahead. No idea what that means.
No. Noses up, everyone. No. Anyways, it was a part of the culture.
Yeah.
And that's basically
and
it. And I wasn't flamboyant.
What I was saying.
Okay. Paco jeans. I don't know how many people here are my age, but Paco jeans came in every color. And you can match them suckers up with a lot of different shoes. All right, maybe it was a little gay. Either way.
That's like anytime I saw Puffy, I was just like, this is really weird.
Yeah, but they dressed in leather.
But wait, exactly. But then he had that guy with the umbrella that would follow him around everywhere with the
His
umbrella.
boyfriend, yes.
I was like, this is so extra gay. And I hung out with all gays back then. I was like, this is very, very gay.
See, my wife's not homophobic. She has gay friends.
I had gay friends. They're not my friends anymore. But not because of me. Because I no longer align with what they like. But the point is that I don't have a problem with gays. I don't care. That's your problem. And I will say, since we're on that topic, with I've had this conversation with Christians before about being kind or whatever to gays. That's their sin. And if I'm going to judge them on their sin, then I need to know the personal lives of everybody I'm around. Because there's quite a lot of people that I have been personally around that were in some kind of ministry and were having their own moral sin, their own sexual sin. And so if I'm going to worry about the obvious sin of a gay man or woman, then I need to be intimately involved in every
The
Google
thing is,
search.
if we're going to bring the church into this, so right, we already know that in America 30% of the church is saved, and I think that number is generous.
Yeah.
But the community Wears their sin on their
Christian
sleeve.
community?
No,
Oh.
I meant the ABC community.
Oh, okay.
Wears their sin on the sleeve. They show it off. They do it. They yell it. They're loud and proud. I think they're absolutely wrong.
Right.
I'm not fending for it, but I respect that person more than the person who claims to be an ambassador for Christ.
Right.
The person who claims to be righteous, claims to be, godlike, and, your sin is hidden well, but it all comes out to light.
It does.
I mean, how many of these celebrity pastors have been having sexual immoral failures, right? Stepping down and then stepping back in to just step back down again because they re-sinned, or maybe they just never stopped and they couldn't get away with it anymore, so on and so forth. Like, they all went after Mark Driscoll for buying his own book. But I don't know, buying my own book or having child pornography all over my campus, I don't know. I'd rather hang out with the guy that buys his own book.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, he lied and this, and he tried to, buffoon people or whatever they may be. But he wasn't making children a target,
And that's exactly what I'm saying.
So, I agree. But either way, I don't want to get into the whole church being very demonic in America. Not yet, at least.
You can't say amen, you ought to say
Well,
ouch.
that's another thing. When Trump lost the last election, or he was stolen, whatever you want to say, whatever, guys. The point is, he didn't become president.
Well, it needed to work out this way. Because if it didn't get as bad as it did, then America wouldn't have spoken up the way it did this time.
So that's what I was going to say. So the last time, in 2020, I was disappointed that he lost. But the first thing, before I could have an actual, feeling, when that feeling comes over you, before that feeling could come over me, the second we heard he had lost, the first thought in my head was, but God is still on the throne. And I was like, oh, yeah, God still is on the throne. And I had to, take a step back and not even allow myself to feel the feeling of upset that he had lost or had been taken or whatever, because it's not about him, and God ordains who is going to be in charge. So God ordained for Biden to be in charge at that time for some reason. And I will say, from that time to now, the amount of people that have come to Christ, the amount of people that have walked away from their own immoral lifestyle, that have been seeking a relationship, that have been seeking information. There's some famous people. I can't remember this guy's name with the long hair. Russell Brand, super out there guy, is existentialist and whatever. Now he's in the Catholic Church now. To each their own, but he's reading the Bible. He went from not believing in anything, right, to believing that there is a God. It's the God of the Bible. He speaks for Jesus. He prays to Jesus. I mean, that's a big deal. And we only know him because he's on the forefront of, television or whatever. But there's a lot of people like him.
Yeah, but that was a very radical turn for that guy.
Huge. It was enormous.
It was very.
But I've had a lot of conversations with people who were similar to him in the camp of whatever, or that's got nothing to do with me, to there's a God, he's real. It's in his word is real. And the point is that I feel like God worked it out. God worked it out for his own glory, as he does, that we had to feel that desolation and the lost so people could turn to Christ. And then the prayers started happening. And then people started repenting from murdering children. And listen, they almost turned California red.
If anyone actually looks at the maps, a lot of states were red. Okay, it was just the cities. So Trump won the country, but she won some of the cities, most of the cities.
Right. And one of the things he wants to do is make voter ID a must. So we'll see how many.
Which needs to be.
It's the only, I think, listen, I don't know every country, but I know in Argentina you need to show
You
need to show your ID in order to vote.
Yeah.
And that's
and they ask us for IDs anyways. Look at how when we were sitting, when we were doing early voting, Okay, they were asking for our licenses so that they can do the little thing in the back.
They don't ask for it.
Yes, they do. They do ask for it because they were asking for it then. And as a challenger, they were asking for IDs then too.
You might have seen that.
Okay.
But I've taken the classes, and legally in New Jersey, we're not allowed to ask. Now,
what you say is legally, that's perfectly fine. It's not legal, but they were doing it.
Yes, like I said, some people go outside of whatever and they do what they want. But legally in New Jersey, I was not allowed to ask people.
Okay. And I'm glad you followed the law because as a Republican, you would have probably got in trouble.
Oh, absolutely.
But I'm going to tell you now.
I love to tell people when they would try to give me their license because sometimes you can't find people because their names are similar or whatever. And they'd be like, what if I give you my license? And I'm like, that would be great. And they would go, well, why didn't you just say that? I'm like, I'm not allowed to ask you for a license. And it was always Democrats that would go, what do you mean? Why wouldn't you be allowed to? Well, in New Jersey, it's illegal. Who would make that? What kind of a law? I agree with you 100%. When you leave here, you should probably Google it. The amount of people I say this to, the two Democrat women that would sit with me would be like, because I would say it almost to every single person. Like, you're absolutely right. It would be much easier if you could just give me your license. Although, to be honest with you, my computer was not working. So when I would scan people's licenses, it wouldn't even work. I'd still have to type it in.
Well, I know that where I worked as a challenger, everyone was asking for licenses.
Yeah.
Whether left side, right side, middle side, whatever side, they were like, oh, just give me your license, just give me your license, just give me your license, just give me your license. And then if people didn't have a license, they would take the license to the person that they were with, bring up the address that way, and then find the name that way. So it may be illegal, but it's what they were doing. My whole thing is that if it's so racist and so bad and so, then why are we already using it? Why are the computers set up to scan these licenses in order to find the person? Obviously, they're already in the system. Obviously, you can already find them. So where's the part that makes it racist? Because the information's already there.
Well, they say it's racist because black people can't afford to get a license. And my thing has always been, if that's first of all, that's ridiculous. Okay, let's just talk about poverty. You're too poor to afford a license. If that's the case, then why is it that the most poor people have to go to welfare? And in order to get welfare, you need some form of ID.
And some offices give you IDs.
4 to 5 forms of ID. You need to show,
birth certificate.
Your birth certificate, your social security, something that says you live where you live, so something with your name on it, maybe the kids' paperwork from the school. Like, that's not true, is what I'm saying. Yeah. So if they're the most poor, then why does welfare ask them for so much ID? But also, if that was true, let's pretend we're in your reality and it is true, why aren't we giving these out for free?
And they give you IDs.
The government
already gives you IDs. They give you insurance cards if you're going there. Those insurance cards have your name, your number, everything that to say who you are. If you get, it's not food stamps anymore, EBT, SNAPs, whatever, that's another card with your name on it, and it's got your social on it. They're already giving you all different types of IDs.
I just know that when my friends turned 18, they needed to renew their welfare stuff, and their mom made them go to a place downtown Perth Amboy. And it was a little place that takes pictures for passports, but they also did state IDs. They were allowed in that place. So they paid $25 each. They both took a picture because they were born on the same day. So they both took a picture. They gave him the little ID, and they went home, and they gave it to their mom, and their mom was able to go and get them welfare so that when they went off to college, they could keep getting food for welfare. So the point is like the poorest of people find a way to get IDs because they need the welfare.
But they also have iPhones and Androids.
What does that mean? Oh, yeah. You can afford an iPhone, and you can afford. In my time, you could afford Tim's.
And I'd like to see those people without Nike, Jordan, Reebok.
Like I said, in my time, we afforded Tim's, and I don't get my hair ironed because my hair is straight, but they would go every week and get their hair done, their nails done, and whatever. You could afford
wigs
that.
And weaves.
You could afford $25 to go get yourself an ID. But again, if that were true, wouldn't these same people, the Democrats, they claim that it's racist and poverty.
It's not. They can't cheat. That's the same reason they were funneling all the people through the border.
Well,
And they were flooding all the what's it called?
non-legals.
Well, they were flooding them into, I forget what they
Cities.
call them. Yes, but they're important cities. They're called...
The swing states.
yeah, exactly.
So I was hearing Elon Musk say that they actually passed a law in California for this election where it was illegal to ask for ID.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't that, like, for example, I couldn't ask you for ID, but if you wanted to give me an ID, I would still take it. You couldn't even look at it. So he had a friend that went to vote, and he was like, just try to give the license to find the person easily. And they were like, no. They didn't even want to look at it because it was considered illegal to even look at. I mean, why would they do that?
I don't even know why they passed that law, because over in Virginia, what was it, 150,000 illegals voted, and Virginia then went after that this was illegal, and it was one of the courts that said, no, you got to keep those votes in, and they didn't have enough time to appeal that. So
they didn't vote. They were registered to vote, and Virginia was...
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know if they voted. We don't know now. But they could have voted.
Okay.
But they were registered to vote. So what they claimed happened in Virginia was that when you go get your license, sometimes certain states will automatically register you to vote. Mm-hmm. So those people, because it's just a little check mark that you put, on the paperwork that you fill out, and I guess they pressed the check mark by mistake. And so the point is that Virginia tried to get those 150 whatever it was, 1,000 people off the voter registrations, and the judges claimed that because you're allowed to do that if it's 35 days before an election, but this was like 32 days before an election, so they were like, you can't get him off the voter registration logs, which is ridiculous.
Well, they just kept going and going with different things. I mean, right now we've been waiting how long for the Senate race? How long? And then all of a sudden, almost a week later, they're coming in, and there's certain votes still going on, and there's certain important seats that are being filled by the wrong people, and it just seems really fishy. It's just interesting. But before we get off, I did want to talk about Puerto Rico.
Oh.
Okay. First thing I want to say is John Leguizamo is not Puerto Rican. Okay? Please stop. Please. It's like AOC. Well, no, actually AOC has the claim to it because her parents are. But we don't claim her. But John Leguizamo is not Puerto Rican. Stop. Okay? He is from Guatemala. He's from southern Mexico somewhere. Southern Mexico somewhere. I have no clue where people started thinking. I know he plays a Puerto Rican on TV because he's short and so on and so forth, and he got his fame pretending he was.
Yes, that's it.
Okay, but he does not speak for Puerto Ricans. What's the name of the guy from Hamilton? He was on the Lin-Manuel Miranda. He does not speak for us.
Another New Yorker.
Okay. Jennifer Lopez does not speak for us.
Another AOC.
Okay. Wannabe, Selena, couldn't be her, couldn't fill in her jeans or shoes. The whole nine yards. All these New York Ricans. DJ. The non-ever famous, only on Hot 97, wannabe DJ.
Yes.
Okay.
Angie Martinez.
Martinez. Oh my God, it's Angie Martinez. No one's ever said that in real life.
Never.
Okay. She's nobody. But again, this claim to...
They're all New York Ricans.
You know the only New York Rican, besides Big Pun and Fat Joe, those are the only two I'll recognize as Puerto Ricans that are from New York. And Fat Joe is not even his music, because his music is all right. Big Pun was top 5 for sure. But Fat Joe, and this is where he gets my respect and my love from, right? Or that I would rep his name, is him and his lady had a child who was born mentally disabled. Okay? And where most of these celebrities cast these children away and God knows what else they do with these kids, he stuck by his son. And when his lady gave him the option of either me or your son, he stuck with his son. And there's pictures all over online with him and his son. His son's a grown man now. And, you know, he's on the floor playing with him and doing all these things. So he gets my respect. The rest of those people that we mentioned, utter disappointment and embarrassment. I love Vico C's music, always loved Vico C's music, but every chance he gets, he wants to talk trash about Trump. One thing I would say to Vico C is first, learn what it is that you're talking about. Stop watching Univision. The socialist, what's his freaking name? He's a super socialist, communist bastard. Rene, Calle 14 or 13 or whatever he wants to call himself. Please stop. There was this big movement recently where a lot of these reggaetoneros and gangster Puerto Rican rappers are coming to Christ. Okay. I'm very happy that you're coming to Christ. But I also want you to pick up a book, okay, and start reading about our history and start reading about the things that happen in Puerto Rico, because for some reason, our government is as crooked as can be. You hear everyone singing about it, everyone talking about it, but they don't vote differently.
It's ridiculous. They've never had a Republican.
They don't vote differently. And then you have people like Faruco became a Christian. I was like, all right, I'm going to start supporting him. I didn't really like his music. Some of it is like real cheesy auto-tune stuff. You know, he says Jesus, and then the rest of it is a good message, not even a biblical message. But I was like, okay, he's doing different from the whole, you know, give little girls drugs so we can rape them music. That all changed. So I was like, all right, let me give him some feed, you know, a like here and there, you know, whatever it is. And then he gets on there and he starts jumping on the bandwagon of anything that's not Trump, right? Which is what Vico C has done and what the rest of these guys have done. And, you know, mad respect to Roberto Clemente's son, who met up with him in Pittsburgh and was at the rally and wasn't afraid to speak his heart. Because I know a lot of Puerto Ricans who are voting for the red, so it's not just about Trump, but voting for the red, but they got to do it all hiding. You know, like all in shame, because at what point did Puerto Ricans, at what point were we Democrats? At what point are we even Republican? Like, we shouldn't even be picking a party, but we should be sticking by the party that has stuck by us, the party that has helped us. Okay, because everything that we have in Puerto Rico, look it all up, has to do with our democratic government and the stuff that they allowed. It's not even America. It's the stuff that our government in Puerto Rico has done.
No, but I'll tell you one thing about the whole situation right now. Tony Hinchcliffe made a joke about Puerto Rico being a, what was it?
The landfill, yeah.
Floating dump, right?
In the middle of the ocean. Yeah, but the joke has nothing to do with anything.
Right, but I was trying to say that they're so slick. They're so used to flipping and manipulating people that instead of allowing the joke to kind of sit, because we all know that jokes come from something, some place. Mm-hmm. They right away go with, he called Puerto Ricans trash. Instead of, why would he say that Puerto Rico is a floating landfill? What does that even mean? They're so smart. Mm-hmm. Because if you just take 3 seconds and have that conversation, if you just think the thought and then you start looking into it, you understand that since 2016, when there was that Hurricane Maria, mm-hmm. Is it a country? What is it? What? Puerto Rico. The island of Puerto Rico.
It's a Commonwealth.
The Commonwealth of Puerto Rico has been overflowing with trash in their landfills. Mm-hmm. Because every year they're hit with at least one semi-hurricane. Maria was atrocious. It's one of the worst. Mm-hmm. But you take that. So you take into account that you have a house and the house, the roof falls in. But every few months, there's another storm. How are you going to fix the roof when there's constant storms that you have to deal with? Mm-hmm. You can't deal with the big stuff because you have a lot of little stuff happening. So you're trying to plug the little holes. You're never going to get to the big hole.
Okay.
So that was what was you have a horrible situation that happens with Hurricane Maria in 2016. Every year they're hit with at least one hurricane. So the trash has been piling up on the island. There's 29, I think, or 21 different landfills. They're all full to the top. To the point that today, Puerto Rico, and when that joke was told, Puerto Rico has this thing going on where at 1 o'clock in the morning, and the reason is because they assume people are going to be out of the water. So it's a thing they tell everybody. At 1 o'clock in the morning, we're doing this thing. Nobody better be in the water. They take the garbage, some garbage from these landfills, and they throw them out into the water in order to kind of relieve the amount of garbage in these dumps.
Mm-hmm.
So the dump is so severe
That they're polluting the ocean.
Hence the joke.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was a way of drawing light to a severe problem that an island is having, and then went right with he's calling us garbage. No, you big giant morons.
Well, first the media said that he called Puerto Rican people garbage.
That's what I'm saying.
And then while the opposing side, instead of saying he never called anyone garbage, they said, no, he didn't say, he was talking about the land. And then it was like, okay, let's run with that one. And it's like they jumped really quick to defend that they didn't actually hear what was coming out of their own mouths. And it's as you said. It was a big boy joke. It was a Dennis Miller joke. For those who remember. It was a
Dennis Miller joke,
Whoever remembers who Dennis Miller is. So it was a good joke because as a Puerto Rican, I wasn't offended. And knowing what's going on our island, right? Because that's, I wouldn't speak if I didn't know. If anything, I would have Googled something like, why did he say that?
Exactly.
But it was a good joke, and he made fun of everyone and a lot of people. In fact, the joke about kids and Hispanics was a lot more offensive.
That was hilarious.
Okay, it was hysterical.
No, yeah, you're right. That was a lot more offensive.
But that would be more offensive than the landfill in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, that one where he was like, don't come here. That was hilarious.
No, that was hysterical. And
I'm one of the ones that came here. I laughed so hard.
No,
but that one would have been more offensive, I would have thought.
No, that one was just great. That's probably because I can walk in whenever I want. But either way, so not even with that joke. But yes, even in if you're going to bring that up. And all the celebrities, oh, my land is not garbage. My land. First off, okay, you don't even live on your land.
Never.
Okay. You live in Miami, you live in New York, you moved out of Puerto Rico because you know how crappy that government is. And the only reason you keep a house in Puerto Rico is because you don't have to pay tax. That's why the fake boxer wrestler people, the YouTubers, the Logan Paul,
yeah, the brothers,
and Jake Paul,
yeah.
Those guys are in Puerto Rico, right, pretending to be Puerto Ricans because they don't have to pay tax and they have mega millions, and they don't have to pay taxes on them. So they can continue to make their money, keep their money, and that's why they live on the island. And then here's the thing. Puerto Rican people want to kick them out, right? Why don't you kick out the government? And then the part that kills me, going back to when Trump was first in, you get hit by the hurricane. You had all this false media going out. He was disrespectful to the people. He was doing this. He was doing that. He was doing whatever. And then Puerto Ricans weren't getting anything. And this is from people on the island. This isn't outside. This is people on the island. Not the New York fake Ricans. Not the Miami live-in wannabes. We're talking about the people on the island. Hurricane hit. Day, 2 days. There's boats at ports, but there's nothing coming off the ports. And who's in control of the ports, allowing things in and off? It was the Puerto Rican government. So things were sent. They were sent by churches. They were sent by other countries. They were sent by America. Even DR sent stuff. Mm-hmm. Which, the joke is that Dominicans and Puerto Ricans are enemies. Ooh. But whenever stuff hits the fan, okay, let me tell you, the Puerto Ricans are in it for the Dominicans for Puerto Ricans, the Cubans. We love to make fun of each other, but when stuff hits the fan, we turn into Voltron. We get all together and we see what we can do. Everything was there, and they weren't getting anything. But the media says, no, and America doesn't want to help. So-and-so doesn't want to help. Doesn't want to help. And then they had the idiot governor, okay, with her fake crocodile tears while she's, I mean, the only thing missing was the McDonald's wrapper in her hand, okay, crying about how no one sent anything, that Trump had to personally go with his people and military to force them to open up the ports so that people can get things. And then, they have a video of him tossing a paper towel, which there's a whole long backstory that goes to it. I'm not going to give it to you. Why don't you do a little bit more research than Univision and Telemundo, which, by the way, are in the same pockets as CNN and NBC and all those other idiots. Okay? Go ahead and look into that. Did you know that Univision actually started laying off of the whole "we hate Trump" thing? Okay, not much, but enough. Okay, where you could tell there was a difference, all because actual Hispanics were like, enough of this garbage.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. And then Univision, not that they became, Trumpers, but they started laying off a lot of the things. Either way, back to what I was saying. So you could actually look this stuff up. It's a longer video out there. There's a couple out there where Trump is dancing with the people, where Trump is moving around with the people. They're all having fun. There's videos of how he, that whole thing was that someone was leaving and yada, yada, yada. I didn't want to get into the whole thing, but you have that. To maybe a month or two later, Trump is back. He's doing his American thing, whatever he was allowed to do because, the blue loved to stop everything he wanted to do. That it just happens to be that, again, there's nothing coming in. And then a year goes by. And then all of a sudden, some hungry little kids or teenagers are looking for what to steal or look for so they can try to find food. And they come up on this warehouse and they break into this warehouse and they find every single thing that was sent over, from generators, food, wood, diapers, formula, dried foods, canned foods, so on and so forth. Paper towels, since everyone loves bringing up paper towels, toilet paper, everything that the Puerto Rican people needed to at least start a better way. And by the way, I'm sorry, but by the way, okay, what was going on with the hospitals before the hurricane? What was going on with the electric companies before the hurricane kicked in? Okay, so this whole idea, okay, where we think we know something, you make an embarrassment of us. Because while people are informed of what's going on our island, you listen to some idiot who's pandering to you, manipulating you, and then you spew this garbage out of your mouth and you embarrass us. As a culture, you embarrass us. It's almost sickening to me that I got to sit around and listen to you speak nonsense. And then you go, "Wepa," like that makes you Puerto Rican. Okay, you turn on a Frankie Ruiz and you're like, "Oh yeah, I know a little bit of salsa." Like, stop it, because you're killing me with this garbage. Find out what's going on in Puerto Rico. Find out what the Democratic government has done to the people there, what they continue to do to the people there. Go find out what's going on with the electrical companies, even to this day. Yep. Find out why we're paying so much a liter of gas, because we don't do gallons. A liter, okay? Find out what money is doing. Find out what the jobs are doing. What is work doing? What are the people outside of San Juan and Ponce doing? Okay? Go find out. You listen to some Perth Amboyan or some New Yorker or some dude from Jersey City who's probably never been, what do they call them? No Sabo kids, okay?
No Sabo kid, yeah.
All right? They're broke. Grandmother tried to help them learn English, okay? Have no clue what's going on in the island. And you're spewing this
rhetoric.
Rhetoric, yeah, that's a good word. I was going to say but rhetoric it is. We're not stupid people. I have tons of pride for actual Puerto Rican people and what we've accomplished throughout history. We're not stupid people, Okay, I know the joke is we don't pronounce our R's. We actually do. It's the Campesinos that don't. Okay, and it's the New York Ricans that forgot how to do it. Okay, but they don't even pronounce R's in English either. So the point being is that we're not these people. We're not AOCs. Okay, we're not John Leguizamos. Well, you kind of are John Leguizamos pretending to be your Puerto Ricans. But the whole idea is can we stop embarrassing our culture and our people? You know, can we please stop that? Read a book, read something outside of that. Go to these other formats of news. There's podcasts of people in Puerto Rico actually explaining what's going on for real in Puerto Rico. Find out how, this is how demented people are. So there was a protest against the government in Puerto Rico. Okay, they were sick of it. They found out everything was being stolen, hidden, that all the elite people in the government had all the factory warehouses, all that stuff was going to them.
There was like 19 of them.
The governor had like 4 generators at their house, and all this stuff is going on. So there was a protest of the people against the government. And what did the media do? They sent Ricky Martin and turned it into an LGBT, supposedly.
That's exactly what happened.
Okay. It wasn't about that. It was about going against the government.
Yep.
But what do? They send in a celebrity. And I mean, come on. We all know that he's a, let's just call him a Diddy kid. Okay. Because the same way the Bieber dude grew up is the same way all those Menudo kids did.
That's right.
So they send him in there. They're like, hey, go do this, right? And I mean, I get it. His career fell when he came out of the closet, okay? So he's got to do something to put himself in the limelight. So he puts himself in the limelight, and what does Telemundo and Univision and Channel 4 and Channel 3 and so on and so forth, all these other channels do? They make it an LGBT, ABCDEFG crew thing. Okay, it had nothing to do with that. It's the people in Puerto Rico sick of the government. And you continue to add to the suffering of our people. Okay, we're Puerto Rican and we're proud. Let's put our flags on our Honda Civics and yay. Let's go to the parade in New York and yell "Wepa" and so on and so forth. But we are the ones adding to the suffering of Puerto Rico, because while they're fighting for their lives and their next piece of chicken, okay, we're over here pretending that everything is great and our people are great, and they're not. And then when stuff is going out there where they need our support, okay, we ignore them and we say everything's fine because The View said it was fine, and everything's fine because Univision and Walter Mercado. I don't even know if Walter Mercado's still there. No idea. But that maybe I'm aging myself. You know, Sábado Gigante says so, and so says so, and all these people say so. Huh?
He's gone too.
He's gone too? Oh, man, I'm really old. All right, so that's the idea. For those that are Puerto Rican that listen to this, for the love of God, educate yourself. Find out what's going on. And I know it sounds offensive to say educate yourself. And if it is, sorry, but not sorry.
Yeah, there were over 20 warehouses that were found with the stuff. And when the governor, Wanda something or other, she was the #1 person on TV saying, they don't care about us. They don't care about us. Trump ignores us. She was hiding over 20 warehouses full of stuff for the people. You have to be demonic to have the, like we say in Spanish, tener la cara, to have the face to show yourself on TV and say, they don't care, they don't care, they don't care, knowing that you have 20 warehouses full of stuff for people. How do you let people, and then the interesting thing is I had friends that were there at the time, and they were saying, but she's out there giving us water, but she wasn't giving you the food, the perishable items like diapers for not just children, but diapers for adults, the generators, the rice, the beans. Goya is, a well-known Puerto Rican company, but it's actually manufactured here in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And he was sending Goya products to Puerto Rico that were sitting in warehouses. So don't, you have to be an evil person to sit on TV facing it, going, no one cares about us, we're dying, our people are dying, as you're sitting on all the resources that could, but she's giving us water, she's a good woman. Shut up.
Well, if you remember, right after the hurricane was Thanksgiving, and we had all those Puerto Rican people visiting. over at what's that lady's house? Yeah, whatever. Your relative that we used to do the Thanksgiving stuff at.
Yep.
And there was a family that was there from Puerto Rico.
Yes.
And the reason they came is because their stuff was destroyed. They needed a place to stay. So they were at this Argentinian wannabe Thanksgiving thing. And it was pretty cool. All the families used to get together and all that stuff. But either way, well, not my family, their family. So either way, it was interesting to see my, what would we call this?
Family members. In-laws?
Ingenious mother-in-law, right?
Oh, no.
No. She was a genius. And she was talking with your other aunt. And they were talking to this couple that came from Puerto Rico about Trump and all the bad stuff and all the bad stuff and all the bad stuff. And these people who just came back from...
Like literally a few days before.
That bad stuff. Were like, what are you talking about? He's humble. He's this. We met him. We shook his hand. He hugged us and he danced with us and he this with us. And
they even explained the paper towel situation.
Yeah, and then here are these people telling them, no, you got it wrong.
Yeah, literally what he said.
Your eyewitness with my misfed information,
yes,
okay? My misfed propaganda it's more accurate than your actual experience.
Yeah, he was incredibly offended and he walked out of the room because the Puerto Rican who was there on the island when the whole situation happened disagreed with the propaganda he got off of Telemundo.
Yeah. No. And it's astonishing. It's embarrassing, my people. It's embarrassing.
This is what happens here. It happens here all the time with people. They were in there. They didn't go through it. They have people over there saying, that's not what happened. I was there at the church the day he did this and that and the third. And they're like, no, I saw it on Telemundo. He threw it at him. Yeah, but like you don't get the context of the situation. You weren't there.
But context doesn't matter. It's propaganda over context.
Absolutely.
It's what I need it to be before context. It's the image of what I present to you before the facts. It's kind of like this left side mentality. For them, it's feelings over facts. Okay, it's emotion over reality. It's about me and how I feel rather than what it actually is.
Right. Yeah.
And the sad part is most of these American churches are the same way. Because it's not about the gospel and the truth anymore. It's about what will they say about us. We got to win these people to Christ, so we got to love their sin. I mean, them through their sin, and we got to this, and we got to put on these shows for them, and we got to do this for them, and we got to do that for them. And it's all
it's Christ last.
Well, it's completely outside of the vision of Christ. Outside of his scripture, outside of the gospel, outside of the point of why we do what we're supposed to do. But the church has joined the culture in this realm of non-reality, okay, to create a facade of happiness.
Wow.
Okay. As long as I can be happy in that, forget the truth. And it's very demonic, right? It is what it is. It's almost being high, walking home, thinking you're on the right path, yet you passed your house. And I don't get it. And again, I was specific with the Puerto Rican culture, but now as someone who was pretty much raised out here as well, okay, same thing with American culture.
It's sad.
Like we talk about how horrible whether white people are, how bad and poor the poor black people who can't take care of themselves are, the Hispanics who are nothing but wetbacks that work all day. Because, by the way, wetback is because of the sweat on their back. I learned that pretty recent. I never understood it. I thought it was because they swam here, their backs were wet. But I was 100% wrong. They called them wetbacks because they were out in the fields sweating, so their backs were wet. And here I'm thinking, like, that's actually not a diss.
Well, same thing with rednecks, but...
So, either way. Anyway, so... I get sidetracked. ADD. So... the poor wetbacks and this. And it's like, first of all, like this false pandering and false need to make us feel better. Like there's nothing more proud than a Hispanic, whether they're from Mexico, whether they're from DR, from Puerto Rico, from you name it, south of Mexico, Argentina also. Okay. We're very proud people. Just look at our houses and the way we wear our flag, the way we do certain things, the way, a certain song comes on and it reminds us of our home, the way we eat, the food we eat, the restaurants we go to. We're very, very proud people.
But we're allowed to be, though, right? Because Americans aren't allowed to be proud.
That's my point, is that we're very proud. So on one hand, we don't need the pandering, okay, when you need us. Because no one gave any bits about Puerto Ricans till they found an opportunity in a good joke.
Absolutely.
Okay? Because where were the Puerto Ricans through the whole thing? The only time Biden needed us is when his votes were down and the blacks weren't voting for him, so we got to go for the Puerto Ricans. Okay? So they didn't care about us then till they have an opportunity to manipulate us and use us. But here's the thing. If we can be proud of where we're from, right? Why can't white people be proud of being Americans? If that's the case, you have black people and black power and this. And I remember when I was a kid, everyone wore the shirts with the African flag and the little baby and all this stuff and the culture and I know. And all this stuff, okay, where we as minorities are allowed to be proud.
All right.
But white people can't be proud.
Well,
rednecks can't be proud.
I've said this to many people, particularly white people, because they don't know anything but America, money. That, for example, in Argentina, the children during, gym class, there's a time of year where they all learn the ancestral dances of Argentina. I know they do this in Puerto Rico too. And so during a certain time of year, the parents come in, the grandparents, aunts and uncles, and they watch the kids perform in regalia, in the garb of that time, right? And so for Argentina, it'll be the gauchos, and they'll dance the chamamé, which is the Argentinian, folklore or whatever. They do it in Puerto Rico. The kids get all dressed up in these beautiful dresses, and the boys come in their little, what do they call it, jiwaro hats and whatever, and you dance whatever Puerto Ricans dance. Merengue? Bachata. No, salsa. Sorry. But it's not even that. It's not even that dance.
Actually, salsa's Cuban anyways. Go ahead.
But it's not even that dance. It's like whatever's like the ancestral cultural dance. And the Mexico, every country in the world is allowed to do this. And more so, and I remember very clearly my childhood when I would go to Argentina and I'd be, whatever down there, and an aunt, somebody would go, "Hey, I'm going to pick up your cousin. Do you want to come with me to pick them up?" And I would watch as the raising of the flag was done. And there would be a flag child, which means the kid that was able to carry the flag and put it up on the
which was a great honor.
And it always was the child who had the highest grades, and it was the best behaved, and it was like a great honor. And we're disgusted by the flag here. We're disgusted. The Americans have no culture. We're disgusted. Like, we have apple pie and burgers, and like there's so many things that come, baseball, football. There's so many things that come from this country, and we're like, there's nothing here. It's ridiculous. And the interesting part is the rest of the world is desperate to like just come look at America. And I'm telling you because I know people from other parts in the world. It's not the media telling me. They hate us everywhere we go. That's garbage.
Oh my God, is that a lie? I don't know how many of your Argentinian relatives and Argentinian relative friends I've met. And they were here visiting. And the illusion of America that they had, like, where are all the blondes? Like, bro, that's like 10%, bro. He's like, yeah, but every time on TV, all the pretty. I was like, bro, that's like 2%. Okay,
it's California.
This is not even California. Look, we're probably the most obese country in the world. Okay. We have a lot of ugly people in this world, but they don't know these things. I've heard people from France who talk about when they got here and they were looking for the yellow brick road and they were so sad because everyone outside of this country sees America, one, because they actually know our history better than we do.
That's true.
Okay. And they don't shame themselves or shame us for what America did to become America.
Absolutely.
Okay. They look at 1777 as a wow moment. Like, these people are oh my God, like, I wish we were like them.
Yes.
Okay. And we shame that day because, well, not we, the left shames that day. You know, we talk about the uglies of America as if America was the only one.
I was about to say that because you can go as far back as Pinochet, which is not that far ago, in Chile, and the stuff that Pinochet was doing. Pinochet was a president there, and he was super leftist. And if he didn't like you because you said anything against him, or he thought you might, he would give you an amazing helicopter ride right into the damn ocean where you came flying out of the door. So that wasn't that long ago. That was like the 80s, I believe.
Yeah.
So the point is like we horror, like, make it into a horror movie, our history. Every country has horror in their history. And some of them are not that far ago.
Well, no, some of them even worse than it is. But we, in America, right, because this is an American thing, because if you ask anyone outside of America, they remember those things because they're taught those things. Right. But in America, we really forgot how horrible Hitler was.
Yeah, man.
Okay? Because we say Trump's like Hitler. How? How is he anything like him? How many concentration camps were they?
Well, I've heard that there's going to be a few concentration camps. And
No. How many have there been? Okay.
None.
How many of any people group were thrown in ovens? Children, women, and male adults.
That I know of, none.
Yet Obama has sent drones out to kill Americans and overseas.
Yes, facts. Yes.
Okay. But anyways, how many people's houses were taken from them because of their anything? Okay, personally taken from them, not because of taxes, not because of this, not because of crimes, not because of anything. How many? Yet we compare him to him. We forget of people like Stalin. We forget about the Babylonians. We forget about the Greeks, the Romans. We forget about all these people and everything that they have done. You know, and here's the thing. Has America done bad things? Absolutely. Has America done, what is it, when we go and we take land, colonized lands or whatever? Yeah, that's how you gain land.
Right.
Okay. That's how, and in fact,
ridiculous.
Why aren't you talking to the Iranians and Hamas and Syria and all those places that are out there fighting for lands right now? Right. Oh, no, free Palestine so that they can take someone else's land. Right. But America got America, and we're bad people. But Palestine can do that. By the way, Palestine isn't even... Anyways, not going to get into that. Back into point. It's okay to be proud to be an American.
Yeah.
It's okay. And in fact, as a Puerto Rican American, right, because this is where my roots are now, this is where my children are born, it's okay to be proud of both. It's okay to teach your children about your Puerto Rican heritage or Argentinian heritage, but it's also perfectly fine to let your kids know that your heritage here in America is actually an awesome one.
We're so blessed. We're so blessed to be in this country. And I talk to people that have been here, they visited, and they've gone back to Argentina or wherever, and they're like, you guys are so blessed. You guys are so lucky.
Yeah, everyone outside of this country.
But the thing is, you know what it is? This country, the Marxists in this country for the last 50 years have done an incredible job at indoctrinating the professors and the teachers and now the children. And it's our generation and the generations after us that believe this country is evil and horrible and whatever. Did we do some atrocious things? Every country has done atrocious things. This is how people came to be in existence. Even talking about the Native Americans in this country, we pushed them off their land. They were pushing each other off the land. The Cherokees and they were all killing each other.
Yeah, but you know what the thing is we talk a lot about supposedly Americans pushed them out of a lot of lands. A lot of these lands were sold to us.
Manhattan was sold.
Okay. Parts of Jersey were sold. Parts of a lot of places were sold. And it's not our fault. Okay. Because here's the thing, right? If you're a hustler in the hood, oh, yeah, that's a hustler. That guy's good, right? Yep. But God forbid you found, well, not that you got hustled, but God forbid you found that, I don't know, this rock, right, that's very shiny, means nothing to you, but to that person, it means the world, predominantly the world of Manhattan, or the world of parts of New Jersey, or the world of whatever it is that they sold us for a stupid rock, right? It's not my fault. You valued it at that. And whatever their mindset was of you can't actually own or you can or whatever. Hey, listen, they thought they were getting away with something. We knew we were getting something out of it. It's a win-win situation.
So the natives believed that you couldn't sell or own land because it belonged to the ancestors. So then when they were selling the island of Manhattan to the white people for, trinkets like mirrors and stones and shells, they thought they were hustling these white people because you can't own land, these silly white people. Yeah, sure, we'll give you the land. But then they come back and they're like, wait a minute, you can't have this land that we sold you fair and square because no one can own. But listen, we don't have the same understandings as you do.
Yeah. Which, again, obviously land to them had nothing to do with their ancestors because they would push one side and the other side would push. What, all of a sudden, their ancestors moved with them to that land? Like, come on, people. Like the things we spew are kind of below our grade level. It just needs to stop. But it has been a good year. So I'm going to end soon because this is my comeback and we're already on like 4 hours. I don't even know. But with this, going back to he's not even president yet. And thousands of caravans have turned around to go back home because they knew they couldn't come in.
Thank God.
So, he's not president yet, and so many things have already changed. Let's pray that he can make it. Let's pray that the scheme that the Democrats are working on now to try to
eliminate his life.
Not only his life, but, they're trying to bring in the inauguration, the this, the that, the broken laws, all the so-called stuff that they, mustered up to get him, to see if they can, put any type of stop because he can't get in. Well, here's the thing. I don't have my faith in Trump. I have my faith in Christ. I know, as my wife has even said, he is on the throne. But I will say this. Do get rid of Trump. Just think, people. There's a guy who's his vice president who's probably going to take the same route he is. And then the people under him are probably going to get also stronger and have more power. And you might actually create a monster. Also know that if the majority of people who voted that much more for Trump than the made-up votes for Harris, okay, because I don't even think she got that many. Either way, with the way the maps of how this country voted, think you Democrats, can you really go after this guy and remove him and not see the outrage? I think you're purposely trying to create the outrage of the American people. Leave the guy alone. Leave him alone. With him and the people that he's put into certain positions in certain places, with the House being pretty much, divided middle, the Senate being middle, a couple chairs more than the other on the red side, thank God. Let's get back to trying to make this country something respectable. I don't know if we could ever make it great again. Okay, because 1777 is never going to happen again unless we start all over. But let's make it respectable. It's so funny how Nobody respected anything about America while Biden and Obama and so on and so forth were in. But Trump comes in and people held back. And then now he's not even back in yet, and people are already laying the bricks. So if we can, let's keep praying for him, pray for this administration, pray for our country, but more than all, pray that God have his way. Anything else?
Yeah, you were talking about prayer. During the first presidential 2016 where Trump was president, since that time, there have been witches that get together on Zoom and other places. I know that sounds stupid, guys, but it's what it is. The spiritual realm.
Well, we are talking to Christians, so they should understand that this isn't playtime. I mean, it is the Once Blind podcast. It's a Christian theme. You should know about the spiritual realm, so go ahead, honey.
The spiritual realm was a real thing. The Bible says we fight against not flesh and blood, but principalities. You know, we're fighting against demons, and these people get together and they try to do witchcraft against Trump and the cabinet and such. In the last few months, they have been saying that no matter what they do, it seems to not be working, that Trump seems to have something around him that is protecting him, a force they call it. Some have actually been smart enough to say, clearly Christians are praying for him. Mm-hmm. So I'm saying this, if they can be devoted enough to get together and pray or whatever they do, the demonic things that they do against this man, it's not about Trump. Yeah. Like, people are, even Christians are like, oh, he's a bad person. It's not about him. It's about us. It's about our nation. Can you set yourself aside for 5 seconds? It's not about the man that's there. It's about the man God's using. David was not a perfect man.
Not at all.
And yet, here, you know, we see David as whatever. Solomon was not a perfect man. Moses was not a perfect man. These men were used by God in their imperfection to protect his people, to lead his people, to speak for his people, to fight for his people. God will use imperfect people. And you know why? Because there's zero person that's perfect. No. He has no choice but to use imperfect people. None of you are perfect. None of us are perfect. So pray for the man, not because he's Trump, that's ridiculous, but because he's the man that God has put in charge of us. And we need this. Our children need this. Why did I vote for Trump? Not that anybody cares, but I didn't want my sons to go to war for another 20-something years and my grandsons to go to war for these endless wars where our government lines their pocket full of money. That's why I voted for him.
Well, it's not only because, see, you say that and some uneducated people don't understand that they were bringing in the draft.
Yeah.
Okay. Because men are no longer signing up for this joke that we call the military, except for the Air Forces.
And what I heard was that at least 1/3, at least, this is like a very lax number, but minimum 1/3 of the people that are of age to sign up for the military would never qualify, either because they have some sort of mental health condition or they're incredibly and utterly obese. So even all of the people that are of age wouldn't have been able to. My point is, I don't want my sons dying in some endless war. No. And I don't want my daughters being pumped full of medications that they don't need. And I don't want the indoctrination, even though my kids are homeschooled and will always be homeschooled.
They still have to mingle with the norms.
Yeah. And the food is poison. And the thing is, you have to think about this. This is very... If nowhere in the world can you sell the Captain Crunch we get here.
Delicious.
Because it's toxic and they don't allow these ingredients in Canada and the UK and Argentina, all these countries, Mexico, they do not allow the toxins that are in our cereal. Then that means they're making special cereal
to kill you.
To kill just us. Because the rest of the world says you're not allowed to put it in. So it's instead of making it one recipe for the whole world, we get the special poison one. No. So guys, something. Like, we got to pray for this man, not because of Trump, but because of your future.
Yeah, because
Your
he's the only
children.
one willing to go against the animals that we. And this is the thing, right? Both the left and the right complain about the corporations,
Yeah.
right? And they say that the red is giving them all the power, and the red says, no, we want to restrict their power, but we're not going to be stupid, okay, and make it so that they make it harder for us, okay? So they're both against. It's just two different ways of attacking the corporations. But there has to be somebody willing to go into depths of the problems in the corporation. It's not just the money, okay? It's the poisons. It's the things they're allowed to do. It's the stuff they're trying to inject in us. The things that they're forcing the government by, lining their pockets to force us to use. All these things. So we got to get past this whole, it's Trump and we love to hate him and we're going to make up all the bad stuff. Like, listen, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. Like I said in the beginning, I wanted RFK. If I couldn't get RFK, I wanted Vivek, okay? Vivek. Or the blonde lady. Who's that? Or brunette, whatever color hair she is. She's
Tulsi Gabbard. Maybe she'll be the next female president, which would be awesome.
Okay.
Not because I want a female president, but it would hurt. It would hurt Hillary and what's her name?
All the other
so
wannabes.
Bad, especially because she used to be a Democrat. God, I would love to shove that in their faces.
Well, that's one of the trends now. A lot of the Democrats are hopping on board the Trump.
Because it's not a Democrat party anymore. But
Well, it's never been, because the Democrat Party is just a chameleon of whatever it needs to be in order to stay in power. But anyways, so you said one thing and then it reminded me. We didn't even talk about the real magic bullet. Not obviously the JFK bullet that hit the guy 8 times and came out of one gun and bounced off a wall.
By the way, I never believed that one either. I think that was my first conspiracy
Obviously,
when I was a kid.
no one believed that.
No, there was a lot of people that believed that.
No, they had no choice to believe it because they're too retarded to think.
These are people who believe everything the government tells them.
Oops.
These are people who believes everything. Why would they lie to us?
Yeah, Santa Claus is real.
Why would they lie to us? It's those people. Why would they lie? But they said it on the news. Why would they lie to us?
So, the real magic bullet, the fact that
that's a miracle.
First off, the conspiracies that came along with what we saw, right? Because this was all videotaped live. It wasn't like 9/11 where they used CG and then we got it all,
9/11 videos. We have it.
Yeah, well, it's a joke to
Oh, sorry.
Anyways, so the whole CG thing. Anyways, we have the live video, right? And people said, "Oh, he set that up." Okay. I hate that we did this, but you brought it up, and now I was like, you brought it up. Anyway, so anyone who's ever shot an AR-15, an MP-15, anything in the AR platform knows, right? At 200 meters, man, there is no missing. Okay? 200 yards, there is no missing. I think it's 200 yards. Either way, there's no missing.
He was within 200 yards.
Yeah. So you'll hit the box every time, right? It's just what it is. 1 shot, 2 shots, 3 shots. It's there. And it could be the most stock of ARs. There is no missing. Now, I say that to also say this. You can find me the best shot in America. The sniper that has the longest snipe shot, that he's got whatever kills, and they made these great little fantasy movies about him. Go get that guy. Okay? Get that guy. And I still won't let you shoot me in my ear.
Absolutely not.
And if that guy is a real sniper, he would never say, "I'll take that shot."
I saw a bunch of snipers saying
No, we saw, but this guy is the cream of the crop snipers, right? And even he wouldn't take this shot. And you couldn't pay me enough money, okay? Unless I needed it for my family, then I'll take the shot. But either way, there's no way I would let you take that shot. My ear? And it's not like Trump's got those like space ears like the rest of these jokers, right? I was gonna name people, but it's not right. It's not nice. He's got, regular ears. They're pointed, in the back. They're there. And he turns his head for the prompter just at the right time for the ear to be nicked, right? Joe Rogan talked about it. Joe Rogan looked at his ear, and he was amazed by it. And the fact that you people thought this was a setup. I know common sense is no longer common in this country.
It's mass psychosis.
Well, it's definitely
you
mass
have to
psychosis.
Be crazy.
But, when you talk about God having his hand on somebody, okay, that is a moment that proves to you. You brought up the witches as well, and the cabal of Hollywood and the cabal of the Democrats and everything that's going on. They're spilling baby blood just for whatever it is that they want, right? They're giving it all to Baal and so on and so forth. And my people, okay, barely missed his head. There was bullet holes in his jacket. There was also people who were injured, and there were also people who were killed.
Mm-hmm.
First off, when you go talking about this conspiracy theory that he did it to himself, have a little compassion for the people that passed, okay, and their families, obviously. But notice the reality of it. Then a couple days later, they're at his golf course and so on. And the Iranians, and I don't think it was the Iranians at all. Okay, I think the Iranians and the Democrats worked together for this. Okay? Oh, no, you can't say that's conspiracy. Well, who killed JFK? Who killed RFK's father? Okay? Like, let's be real here. If it's happened before, it can happen now. I mean, who went after Martin Luther King? Malcolm X. Okay. Like, these are things we know, which is funny because every minority in the world used to say, oh, it was them. And then the minute it comes out that it was them, it's like, no, never. Either way, you mutts. This is why we say you got to pray for him. You got to pray for him. You got to think.
That thing that he was looking at, he says he always brings that
up at the end.
And for some reason, he started talking about it. So he was like, he likes to not mix up the numbers.
Yeah.
And he needed the reference. So he asked him to put it up. And he just so happened to look. But usually that reference would have come up at the end. But had he done that, he wouldn't have been looking up at the thing just when he was looking up at the thing.
Okay. We do have to end this.
God is
I've
amazing.
said this like 3 times.
God is amazing.
You have to pray for him. I will ask you one question, but I want a quick answer.
Okay. No.
Out of all the podcasts, Trump, Elon, Vance, RFK, who do you think was the most influential of all of them? Because they were on Flagrant with
Andrew Schultz.
Andrew Schultz, which is a pretty good guy. You had the Indian guy who's 50%
That
funny.
one was good. That one was
okay.
good. The Andrew Schultz one.
Except for the one racist at the end
He
who
didn't
hates
talk.
Trump.
He didn't bother talking the whole time.
Well, no, he snickered the whole time, and then when Trump wasn't there, he said all his hateful things.
Typical feminine man.
Well, he's also very racist. He even makes comments about Jewish people to Andrew, and like horrible ones. But either ways, so that one was decent. You had Theo Vaughn.
That was really
Theo
good.
Vaughn had, I think, Elon as well. No.
Yeah. No, I don't know.
Okay. So
He definitely had Vivek, I think.
yeah, and he also had Trump. So did Rogan, and Schultz also had Vivek. Rogan, obviously.
Schultz also had Bobby Kennedy.
Yeah, that was a real good one.
So good.
So out of all those, which one do you think was the most influential?
In the election?
Yes.
I think I'm supposed to say Joe Rogan's. But for me...
With who?
With Trump.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I really like Trump with Theo Von.
Mm-hmm.
Theo Von asked stuff I never heard anybody ask about, which was about his brother,
Mm-hmm.
Trump's brother. Trump's brother died of alcoholism, and Theo has, he has addiction issues that he's worked on for years, and it just came. He made him very human. He made him very personable.
Mm.
And you saw Trump act like a dad.
Mm.
He was like, are you okay? Like you saw that it had nothing to do with the podcast. It had nothing to do with running an election. He became very, very, very human in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And you saw his concern for Theo. Also, Theo Von has had RFK because RFK is also in recovery. And RFK has done recovery, meetings at his own house. And that's how Theo met him years ago, because they would go to his house to do the recovery meetings. I loved him on that podcast. I think he's been on like twice. Those are years ago, though. But Theo's, I think, was...
Though that was a great podcast. How was that influential to the election?
I think because it made him more human. Everybody has seen him as like this hard-nosed jerk of a person that says horrible things on Twitter about Rosie O'Donnell.
So that's how you think it was influential? Because it
For
made him more
me,
human.
for me, it was.
Okay.
I think other people would say Joe Rogan because they don't even know who Theo is. But yeah.
I would say yes with Joe Rogan, but not with Trump. That was good.
Ooh.
Joe Rogan and Vance, that was good, but is the day of or the day before election with Elon Musk.
That was so good. That was very good.
Not only was it good, not only was there a lot of exposing, not only was there a lot of logical thinking on what they were doing and what it would do to democracy from then on.
He kept hitting that one.
But
Elon Musk.
But till, and this is the thing, the people who watch Theo watch Rogan. The people who watch Flagrant
Watch Rogan, yeah.
Rogan.
Yeah.
Okay. And not only do I think that specific one was the most influential because of everything Musk was saying, but not till that day, okay, Flagrant, they were all cowards because most of them wanted to say Trump, but, they can't say that, so they all kissed the media bubble, right? We'll call it the bubble rather than the media ass.
The media ring.
Saying, I didn't hear, whether Theo said anything or not, no one respects him as an actual thinker because look at that actual video. Like, I've seen him do the one with Strickland. I've seen him do a lot of ones, and you're like, wow, this guy's smart.
He is smart.
Okay? He plays or he may talk like a redneck, but he's a smart man.
He's a smart guy.
Very good interviewer, very good podcaster per se, right? He's good at what he does there. I don't find this comedy funny. When he tries to be funny, I don't think it's great. But I will say, I can enjoy his podcast. But the one thing that I think put everything over the edge was Rogan telling people to vote and who to vote for. Because here's the thing. 4 years ago, or let's say 8 years ago, Rogan hated Trump. Rogan talked smack about Trump. So everything the media was saying about Trump, he was spewing it out. Granted, he wasn't hunting yet.
No, I think it was.
Not at that time. That I know of. Granted, he wasn't doing the things that we know him for today.
Right.
I mean, he was doing taekwondo and all the karate stuff because we all know he's a great kicker. He was doing the whole UFC thing, which was kind of interesting to me that, when he would talk about him being at UFC he had such like disdain. And it wasn't that he was trying to be obvious about it, but you could tell. And there was a lot of things that he would go against on the right side because he was more towards the left. I wouldn't say he was a left nutcase.
He would. In that one with, you were just saying his man, Elon Musk. Elon Musk said, "I left the left, you left the left," and he said, "Yeah, we're both Democrats."
Yeah. So, And then he goes and he puts his money where his mouth is, right? That's the saying. He didn't cower. He didn't care whether YouTube, whether Hulu, whether anyone, because he knows none of you can cancel him. He wasn't afraid of the cancel culture, like the flagrant people. Okay, he wasn't. And to me, everything that Elon said was the bottle, and he put the cork in it. Okay, when he let his sack show, and he said, "This is how it should be."
Elon said about 3 times, Joe, this will be the last election if Trump doesn't win.
Yeah.
Because they will flood each swing state with illegals. They will make them legal. They will give them citizenship. They will vote there from then on. And never again will we have another
Party.
Appropriate election because it will be bought out from henceforth.
Mm-hmm.
And he said it. I just listened to it. He said it a good 3 to 4 times.
Yeah. I think I've watched that one 2 or 3 times. I watched that one 2 or 3 times. I watched the one with RFK. And I'm telling you, RFK on Flagrant was really good. Yeah. Okay. It was surprisingly good. Because I don't mind Schultz, and I don't mind the Indian guy most of the time, even though he's a little feminine. But the two that sit on the left, it's like one pretends to be the Republican, and the other one pretends to be the Democrat.
Yeah.
Either way. So, this is this week. We'll figure out what we're going to do. I am going to decide at some point or whatever to try to do lives more. I do want to get into the theme of doing this more. But we'll see. It is hunting season, so God bless you guys.